Hello. Welcome again to Trove Art's YouTube channel on YouTube. I am guest artist Damian Braidley. My artist name is WRAITH. I want to begin today with a thank you for all of the new subscribers, but this video should be a very good lesson to learn drawing from, so it will serve as a nice reward for subscribing and staying connected. Many drawings begin by looking at something. Some look at the world, maybe a building, or a mountain, or the ocean, or maybe a person like a loved one or a stranger, and sometimes celebrity movie star people who are smiling, or sometimes making the action fighting positions with their arms and bodies. Other people who are trying to make art look at photographs instead of real-world things. Some drawings can be made with pictures of cars or horses. Sometimes we see drawings of pictures of cities and apples on a table, or maybe a hand drawing itself as a hand drawing, which can be very confusing to the person enjoying the art. I do not draw from the world or photographs because my imagination has better things than can exist in reality, so I am my own inspiration. For those of you trying to be an artist, I wish that I could share my good imagination with you, so that you could also draw such good things, but I can't, so while you should try your best, you may be sad to discover that you can't achieve as well as I can. We begin this drawing simply with some lines, letting the pen flow around the paper. This is a golden Midiger pen and LaRue tight-bound ivory white drawing paper for those of you who want to follow along with the same tools, although both are very expensive and it may be cost prohibitive for you to use while just learning how to draw. I'll be using several techniques during this creation. The first is called back and forth. That's probably a new term for you. It means pushing the pen back and forth to build up some color. Color on the page comes from the ink inside of the pen coming out onto the paper. When you move the pen back and forth, more ink comes out in that place, and the paper looks like it is getting darker, but it is really just that there is more ink there than other places on the paper. Hatching is another technique that I will introduce to you. You've probably never heard of this. Hatching is to make many little tick lines in one area to put more ink on the paper and give the appearance of a darker paper. Remember that the paper is not getting darker, I'm just building up more ink in that area. We keep the tick lines parallel to one another. This means that they are all drawn in the same direction. To do this, I hold the pen and move it always in the same direction. If I moved the pen in another direction, the lines would not be parallel to each other, so I keep moving the pen in the same direction with each line. You probably don't know the term cross-hatching, but I will explain it to you. I will explain it as very much like hatching, that is to move the pen in the same direction to make many parallel lines, but also not like hatching. Cross-hatching also makes lines in another direction, like a small cross. Some lines one way, some lines another. If you're not ready for this level yet, do not worry, nobody will see your art. Stippling is something that you definitely can't do at your level, so you may wish to put your pen down and enjoy watching as I draw. Stippling means to make shading and darker areas in the drawing using many little dots that are made by tapping the tip of the pen to the paper. You never tap the side of the pen or the back of the pen. Remember, the ink only flows out of the top of the pen, so that is what you tap against the paper. When you have a few dots, say 3 or 5 or maybe 10 or 34, that area will appear rather light. When you add many more dots, say 98 or 134 or 300 or sometimes more, that area of the paper can begin to appear rather dark or shaded. Shading and light and dark areas adds interest to my drawings, and it's part of why my artwork probably looks so much richer than yours. Sometimes I add circles to my drawings. Circles are like balls or spheres, but flat, like the paper. I might use shading to make a circle have the appearance of 3 dimensions, But when you buy my art and look at it from the side, I know that you'll be surprised that it is actually flat. There is no ball on top of the paper or glued to the paper. It is just all done with ink. I wish I could teach you this, but I have some natural skills that video lessons can't help you achieve. I had a good idea once and invented a simple way to make a circle. I realized to myself that if I used something that is round, like a glass or a mug or a small saucer plate, I could hold it onto the paper and push the pen around the edge of it with the tip pointed down to the paper. You might not be able to understand how I mean, but it's a secret way that I make circles that are as round as a glass or a mug. One thing that I like to share with people who are trying to be artists is to try to use a fair amount of good lines in your drawings. Good lines will make your drawings more pleasing and something that others will want to look at. I often wonder why most of you use bad lines or lines that don't make your drawings look good when trying to be an artist. I use all good lines. That way I know that when the drawing is complete, it too will be good. It's a lot like baking a cake. Many of you might use old milk and rotten eggs as ingredients, but if I was baking a cake, it would be good. Angled lines are lines with more than one part. Sure, a line might start out heading in one direction, but couldn't it also turn and go in another, you ask? Think of angled lines much like the elbow of an arm. If you bend your arm at the elbow, your hand will move in a different direction. When I move my elbow, I am making good art. Sometimes it is good to stand back from what you are drawing. You may decide that your drawing needs more work, maybe on the top part, or over on the side, or the other side, and then you would continue to draw. But you will probably decide instead not to use any more ink because your drawing can't be fixed. I like to step back and look at my drawings for a long time and think about how good my imagination is and how all of my techniques from hatching to cross-hatching to lines made it so good for all of you. As we're finishing up here, I have noticed that many of you try to subscribe 2 times to this channel. It is difficult to understand, and you may be thinking, but Wraith, I want to subscribe again. But I tell you once again that 1 click will subscribe you for this, where I will share my artist skills. But a 2nd click will make you an unsubscriber who will miss everything good.